This is the Dover Download Podcast. My name is Christopher Parker, and for the past 25 years, I've had the pleasure of working with, learning from, and talking to a variety of volunteer, staff, and community members. This podcast explores conversations, activities, and a variety of policies and programs which exist here in Dover to improve the community in one way or another. On Saturday and Sunday mornings, I tend to take 5 to 6 mile walks, and normally they are pretty quiet. But the first Saturday in October, it isn't so quiet when I'm coming home. Why? Because Apple Harvest Day is busy setting up and getting ready for the hordes and hordes and masses and masses and hordes and hordes and hordes. Right, Margaret?
That's right.
Margaret Joyce is joining us. She is the president of the Greater Dover Chamber of Commerce. Also with us is Jed Allen, the events coordinator for the chamber. Welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So, hordes and masses, they're coming?
That might be an understatement.
An understatement. Ooh, I like that confidence.
It is a funny thing about Apple Harvest Day. We're often approached by media outlets who want us to advertise, but we really don't. This is the kind of event that people know about and look forward to, and they come every year.
So for the one person listening that doesn't know, Jed, what is Apple Harvest Day?
Apple Harvest Day is a major event in downtown Dover. We shut down the downtown section of Central Ave, 3rd Street, and part of Henry Law, and we take over Henry Law Park as well. We have over 300 vendors. We have food trucks. There's entertainment, live music, local community groups doing different acts like ballet and singing, or bouncy slides, I guess. So
right, in the kids zone. Kids area.
All kinds of things.
So one thing that I heard you say, which you shut down downtown. So 90% of our parking in downtown Dover is downtown, particularly on Central Avenue. Maybe not 90% on Central, but accessible off of Central. I'm guessing that means that people don't park on site to come to Apple Harvest Day.
That is correct. And this year we're doing something a little bit different. We are directing visitors to park in the northern section of town at the Liberty Mutual campus, 100 Liberty Way. And we will have shuttles running all day from Liberty Mutual to downtown. And that's a little different from last year. Last year we had 2 different routes, a northern route and a southern route.
Gotcha.
And we will only have the north route running this year.
Okay. That's probably the biggest change, Margaret, that we're seeing over the past couple of years, really. It's been a number of years where there's been the dual option.
Right. And for a couple of reasons, with all the construction going on downtown, the roads are a little bit tighter, particularly River/Payne Street is a little bit tighter. And also, we do listen to feedback from people, and apparently there was quite a wait at the north parking shuttle stop, people waiting up to an hour to get on a shuttle. And then the other unfortunate thing is when they were getting back on the shuttle in front of the Children's Museum to head back to the parking lot, some people got on the wrong shuttle and ended up at the wrong place, and then they had to wait an hour. So we're putting all of our resources into one parking area. And the good thing is, obviously, that campus is huge, so it will accommodate many, 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 many people.
Good. So Apple Harvest Day, if memory serves, the kickoff is around 9. Before the kickoff, there is the road race.
Yeah, a little
affiliated,
but
not necessarily
yes.
part of the festivities.
Yeah, we're in our 17th year of the road race, 41st Apple Harvest Day. So 17 years ago, somebody decided it would be a really good idea to have a road race in conjunction with this massive event. And the road race is also one of those things that people look forward to. A lot of people who come to Apple Harvest Day start the day off with the race. Last year, 626 runners crossed the finish line. More were registered. They could still be out on the course somewhere. I don't know. But we had 626 people cross the finish line last year. And that's a good-sized race.
That's absolutely a good-sized race. So that happens, and then at 9 o'clock, there is the bite-off, the kickoff. How do we phrase that?
The first bite ceremony.
First bite.
And we bring out the Dover High School band, and they play the national anthem. Nice. And then we officially open Apple Harvest Day. The festival underwriter for Seacoast Bank is there to participate. The mayor will be there, and somebody from the chamber, maybe me, maybe not, depending if I can get away from the race. And we officially open Apple Harvest Day. WOKQ has emceed that stage for us for the ceremony for years and years and years. So they'll be there doing that, and then we're off.
So Jed, when Margaret says we're off, you had mentioned earlier there's vendor booths, there's food options, there's musical options. Is the music all day long? Is it compartmentalized? How does that work?
Yeah, so there are 2 stages. The Kachiko Mill Courtyard stage that will have music all day long. Each artist will play for about an hour, and that's mostly singer-songwriter, acoustic type groups. Usually, I think it's all solo performers.
Yeah.
And then at the Rotary stage, we have a variety of things. We have dancing, we have music, we'll have a little bit of comedy. So all kinds of things.
Nice. As we flow through the day, one of the things that I always find fun is you see some of the same vendors that come back year after year, some new vendors that come back. Maybe not this year because we're local elections, but not state or national to the degree. You usually have that sort of aspect as well. My sense is that it's not September 1st and you think, hey, we should organize an event on the first Saturday of October. When do you, and probably more importantly, let's recognize it's a committee. It's not just the two of you and the other staff at the chamber. It's a real volunteer effort to pull together. You obviously probably don't start the second Saturday of October thinking about next year, but it's got to be pretty early in the year.
Yeah, I wish we started in September. But no, we start pretty much right after the event. Within the next few weeks, I'll start applying for the permits to shut down downtown and to use the park. And then I would say the committee usually starts meeting late winter to really start kind of planning out the ins and outs. And we put out the registration for the vendors in early March. So it really is pretty much a year-round effort.
And how has the vendor application pool been? Are you seeing people trickle in? Is it a tidal wave in April and then quiet until July when people realize they probably should have signed up in April?
I would say more of a tidal wave. We put them out early March, and I believe we were sold out by the beginning of April, or at least very close to it. And that's the earliest we've ever sold out.
So is that exciting, Margaret, or is that frustrating?
It's a little bit frustrating for a couple of reasons. You feel bad for the people who do in July say, oh, I should apply for Apple Harvest Day. So you feel bad telling them that, and we put them on a wait list. Right now, we've got about 50 people on the wait list, and the event is just over a week away, so chances are slim. But we encourage them to put in the application anyway, because then they'll be put on the list for next year. So it's hard to disappoint people, but I guess we should feel good about the fact that many people want to participate and be at Apple Harvest Day. We have returning vendors who some have been coming up to 20 years. It's incredible the loyalty that these folks have. It's such a big event that they do very, very well there. So for them, it's worth it to be there.
Jen, do you have a sense, and I don't think that I'm particularly looking for a number or a definitive line in the sand, but give a sense, Dover vendors versus outside vendors, like how much are we bringing into the community versus someone setting up shop in front of their normal stoop?
It's a great question. I would say the majority of vendors are from out of town, especially if you're not including the people who have downtown storefronts. I'd say the majority are coming in from somewhere else.
Yeah, and some from, a decent distance, upstate New York, Vermont, a lot of Massachusetts. We have one vendor, Slush King, who comes every year, and he is from East Boston, and he's actually a member of the Dover Chamber because he gets a little discount on his application fee. And people sometimes look at that and say, why is this guy from East Boston a member of the chamber? It's because he loves Apple Harvest Day, and he's been coming for years and years. But yeah, mostly outside of Dover, the downtown merchants automatically get a spot. And then we do have quite a few other businesses, nonprofits who want to be there. But I would say the crafters, and at its heart, Apple Harvest Day is a craft festival. Those folks are coming from outside.
One of the recent conversations I had, not on the podcast, but around town, was with Chris Garrett from Licky and Chewy's, and he was telling me how he basically adds staff in August to start prepping for Apple Harvest Day because of the caramel apples, and he was telling me all the logistics. He and I were like in logistics systems panacea, chatting about how many bushels he has to buy, how he has to pick them, how he has to source, and it was pretty amazing to think. For him, it's like Christmas, right? It's like it's the Black Friday of the candy sales is selling those apples, and if memory serves, he's always got a line.
Yeah,
and he's always selling out.
And we've had to think about that line. We've had to actually reroute it because it was so long. It was sort of creating a traffic jam. So we've had to take that into account when we plan Apple Harvest Day. Where are we going to put Lickies and Chewies? And I was in Lickies and Chewies recently, and they do have the apple. It's apple season, so they've got them out. And I would say his caramel apples are works of art. I know it's labor intensive for them. I don't know if he told you a number, but it's something like 1,100 that he goes through.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's a lot of work. And he doesn't just dip them in caramel and, stick them on a tray. They're works of art.
That's what he was saying, is it's not a system you can automate because everything is a creation.
It is, yes.
It's great that there's still that sort of artisanal feeling to Apple Harvest Day. He and I think most of the people that come to sell their stuff at Apple Harvest Day or educate people, if that's what their booth's about, they really are there to participate and be part of the community.
And put their best foot forward,
right.
Certainly. As you mentioned, the tidal wave tsunami of people coming to Apple Harvest Day, you've got to differentiate yourself. You've got to attract people into your booth rather than people just walking right by.
So I remember probably, let's say 20 years ago, if you went from 2nd Street to Washington Street, it was pretty crowded. And then over time, portions of 1st Street, it kind of ebbed and flowed. There was stuff on 1st Street for a while. Now, certainly the next move was to fully engulf Central up to 3rd, and then it went down 3rd. And it seems to me that over time, Henry Law has expanded as well, that was more like bringing you to the park. Now it is fully engulfing the park, including the children's home stuff at the end. And the McConnell Center lawn has had stuff. The portion of St. Thomas Street near the McConnell Center. Is there a point where you have to stop and say, we have 50 people on a wait list, we should find more area?
That's a common discussion, both amongst us, but also the committee. And there's that question of just, is bigger better? Do we keep on expanding?
That's what I was going to ask you.
And part of it is just there's limited space to go, in order to keep some traffic flowing and do it safely. So it's a constant discussion, and I guess we'll kind of see where it takes us. But
And I would jump in and say limited resources. A lot of people don't realize the Chamber does this event, and we're a staff of 4. We've got a great committee that comes to the meetings and gives ideas, but logistically it's a lot. And it's also a demand on the city's resources. We've got to be mindful of trash. We have volunteers who do trash all day, but we've got to get that off the street, and police, fire, they've got to be at the ready with an event this size. So it is a question of resources as well. But we did have a robust discussion about that this year. Again, I will go back to my earlier comment. You hate to disappoint people and say, sorry, not this year. But
part of me thinks that on the one hand, I'm not proposing this, I'm using it as a conceptual idea. You close off Main Street as well. So you would add that much more booth space. So you no longer have the wait list, and maybe you spread some folks out. I almost think that would take away from the feel, because there's something energetic about walking down sort of shoulder to shoulder with your friends and running into everyone and their brother. And there's something about that vibrancy and that activity that if it was dissipated more, or if it was more like a fairgrounds or something that had a different vibe to it, I think you might lose some of that aura.
Yeah, that hometown feel.
Yeah.
You're in the downtown, and we do have a beautiful downtown. That those blocks along Central Ave are lovely, and it's really quite exciting to see the tents lined up. And we've seen photos, the aerial shots. It's amazing to see that. And you're right, that's the vibrancy. Now, I will point out, Chris, that not everybody loves to be in crowds of that size. So we have tried to address that at Apple Harvest Day, because we do want it to be inclusive. A few years ago, we worked with 21 Senses and nonprofit organizations to create a calm room. And that's for people mostly young people, kids who get overstimulated. The family would love to come to Apple Harvest Day, but they have a child with a sensory disorder, all the smells, the sights, the sounds. So we've created this space on Waldron Court where they can step off the footprint for a little bit, reset themselves. We call that the family respite area. The calm room is in there because we also want to accommodate, whether it's an elderly person who just needs to sit down, or perhaps it's a family, mom or dad, who has to change a diaper. We have diaper changing stations, a woman who is breastfeeding who needs to go in and take a little break. So we do have that there. Amongst all of the chaos, we have a calm room.
Yeah. So, Jay, what do you look forward to?
October 5th?
Well, that would be obvious.
Last year was my first year doing it, and it really was fun as much anxiety as there is leading up to it, all the work. I do remember the day before on Friday evening going through town and just seeing everything coming together. Just seeing all the tent going up in Henry Law and all the porta potties being put in place around town. And then on the actual day of the event, it was just great seeing how it came together, seeing how somehow it almost feels magical that the vendors arrive and they're all set up by 8 o'clock or so. The rate at which they did that was incredible. All the help from the volunteers who really make it run. We couldn't do it without them. So yeah, just seeing everything come together. And then it was also fun kind of problem solving on the fly, because there's always going to be little things that come up, little issues here and there. And it was fun. Just there were a few times where we just put our heads together as a team and figured out a solution. And as much work as it is, it's really great when you see it come together.
So all good things must end. So this is a apple harvest day. It's not apple harvest night. What is the witching hour, as it were? When does the clock strike midnight and everything goes back to being a pumpkin?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. So I'm going to guess that by 8:30 we're looking at the road shutting down, or at least getting into that mode, so that 9 o'clock you have the first bite. Is there a last bite at 4? Is there something to memorialize?
Some years there's been one of our team members at the chamber. No, she rolls down the street in a golf cart with her megaphone saying, "The festival is over." and that's honestly, again, a safety thing to get the roads back opened up again and get the vendors safely down and out of there. But the vendors know the drill. But sometimes it's the attendees. You have to say, "Okay, we don't care where you go, but you can't stay here." But there's lots of wonderful. They can go to restaurants. Yeah. There's lots of things they can do in town after the festival ends, and we feel good about that. That we're bringing people to Dover to shop at our stores, to eat in our restaurants. So it's a good thing overall. It's one day of but it's a good thing overall.
So to recap, one of the things, and correct me if I'm wrong, the listener should really take away from this is park at Liberty Mutual if you aren't walking or within some sort of proximate distance to downtown already. If you're coming from outside the area, do not go to the former location of the Southern shuttle. Go to Liberty Mutual. Everything is being coordinated out of that space. Come for the first bite and stay for the last ride through town on a golf cart.
And come run the race if you're so inclined. That goes off at 8:30, and it's a fun one. It really is. We've got New Hampshire coffee roasters there in the morning, which I'm always happy to see when they roll in, because I've been out there since 5 getting ready. And that's also an energy, like you say, Chris, to see that many people out there and excited and energized.
Yeah, I've done the past couple of years. I'm probably, although I haven't signed up to volunteer, I'll probably volunteer this year to be one of the guides. And you're right. Seeing the faces of people, part of me is always thinking, you sucker. And the other part of me is thinking, I should be out there too. But to see the faces of people that get energized by that run and then go and enjoy.
Yeah. The rest of the day, because it's honestly, the run is a family affair. We have a lot of young people who run it. Laura Toll gets the middle school cross-country team out there every year. But you see families. You see parents pushing their kids in strollers. It's truly a family affair. And then they finish all sweaty and do a quick change and then go eat fried dough.
Go have bread. What better way to satisfy the soul than a run and fried dough? I suppose if you did it reverse, the fried dough would be sitting in your gut. Anything else the listener needs to know? We talked parking, we talked timing, we talked general vibe. Any of the acts or any of the groups we want to make sure that get attention?
Well, the acts are varied, and they're all great. Some of them have been returning for years and years and years. On the Rotary stage at Henry Law, it's a lot of community groups. Grimes, McDonough Grimes, Irish Dance. You've got Soul City Dance. I think, is it Granite State Choral is coming, or no? The Seacoast Men of Harmony are coming. So it's those types of groups. And then, as Jed mentioned, on the Kachiko Courtyard stage, it's a little bit more of acoustic artists. So it's a mix. And then the other thing that people should know, we estimate 50 to 60,000 people. We just encourage people to be mindful of the trash. We have trash barrels throughout the downtown, please take advantage of those. We have volunteers throughout the day who try to make sure they're not overflowing and clean them up. One of the things, we were approached by a committee here in Dover, plastic reduction group approached us, and it's a little bit hard to control human behavior of 50,000 people. But one thing we've instituted at the race, we're working with HydroPack, which is a group that's looking to make more sustainable racing. So we do have some reusable cups and pitchers that we'll be giving to people. We still have to have the bottled water. You know, as people cross the finish line, if you say, sorry, no water, that's not a good look. But we are trying, we are mindful of it. But the big thing is we have volunteers who monitor that trash all day. But if people would just help us out by putting it in the trash, and let's keep Dover clean.
I'll throw one last plug in. There's a lot of city presence. You mentioned police, fire that are in supporting roles, but recreation office, the planning department, open lands committee, conservation commission, community services has a big area. It's a great way to learn about the municipal opportunities as well as the community.
Yeah, the library always comes out. The city has an active presence, and I really do have to give a plug to the safety officials who work very, very closely with us. We do have medical on site. We have the ambulances. There's also going to be a staff of folks from Wentworth Douglas Hospital. They're going to have a medical tent staffed with their clinical staff. So we try to be mindful of all aspects. But yeah, it's a great way to learn more about Dover and see what Dover has to offer.
And if you're looking to learn more about Dover, you can check out the Citizens Leadership Academy, which starts the week after Apple Harvest Day. And that's a series of classes where you can learn the ins and outs of how the city works, from government to the fire department, police station, recreation, and more.
And the infamous trip to the wastewater.
Right. Yes. It really is a hands-on opportunity. And everyone that takes it, I don't know about you both, but everyone that I've talked to that's taken it and gone through the 6 weeks always raves about what they learned, what they didn't know occurred, what they did know occurred, but at a different level. It's been really good feedback. And most importantly, in my mind, for the community is people then have the opportunity to have a better sense of what board or commission they want to join and participate in afterwards.
And it's free.
It isn't.
Price is right.
Well, I appreciate you both coming in for the annual checkup on Apple Harvest Day and talking us through what we can expect. And I will see you. Well, I won't be at the northern bus stop because I'll walk downtown, but I'll see the people at the bus stop. How about that?
All right. October 4th. See everybody there.
Enjoy the day.
Thank you.
We are just about to hit the beginning of Q4 in 2025, which means that September is ending and the council, school board, planning board, and other boards, committees, and commissions have wrapped up their September activities. Brian Early from Media Services and Aaron Basagio from Planning are here to tell us what all exciting things happened in the month of September. Brian, I assume the city council met.
The city council met. They had two meetings in September. The city manager, the second meeting, went over the results of the National Citizen Survey. The results are posted online. This is a survey that's done every 2 years. That's done. Some are mailed to residents. Some people do that online as a way to measure how the city is doing on certain things. I guess it also is used to help inform budgets and
right. So there are about 3,000 people that are pre-selected to receive an invite to the survey, but any resident or property owner can take the survey. The survey is available online. And so while maybe you didn't get the invite, you're available to take it. We did the survey between May 19th and I want to say the end of June. So there's about a month period where people could go online and take it. It's actually the 10th time we've done the survey, which seems pretty amazing thinking back to 2004 when we started it. It's an every other year activity that we do here in the city. And like you said, Brian, it's a great way to just get general feedback, but it's also a great way to inform our strategic planning processes, our budgeting processes, and just get a sense for what the folks in the community are looking for.
Other things that were on these agendas, there were some fire things on both agendas this month, though. The first month was a project of getting shipping containers to create a structure as a training structure that's going to be on county land, used for fire and police training and SWAT training. In the second meeting, there was resolutions for buying a new fire pumper truck. That was going to be used for everyday emergencies to help save the other ladder truck and other fire vehicles for just fire use only. And they also authorized to equip the recently leased garage maintenance space where they're going to be doing maintenance work. They also did some just general stuff. They set the voting hours for the upcoming municipal election on November 4th. The polling will be open in all 6 wards from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on November 4th, 2025. If you go on the homepage, you can find a list of the candidates who have filed for the offices for the city of Dover. And there's also, you can do absentee ballot voting for that if you're unable to attend the election that day. And that's about all that happened in the city council world.
Aaron, one of the things that happened at the second meeting the council held was they forwarded the zoning amendments to public hearing and review at their upcoming meeting, which leads me to believe that the planning board addressed those in their last meetings.
They did. There were 2 meetings in September, back to the 2-meeting schedule after summer. And at the first meeting, there was a good amount of discussion. There was resident feedback on the proposed zoning amendments. And at the second meeting, there was another public hearing and some opportunity for feedback. So City Council will be another opportunity for public input and then potentially ratified. And also at the first planning board meeting, it was a big month at planning board. There are a number of big projects. The proposal for the former Liberty Mutual site was before the planning board. This is a proposal by Brady Sullivan Properties. First up was a CUP to establish a residential commercial mixed-use overlay district. This overlay district essentially allows them to propose what they are proposing, which was a master plan for the site, which will include 3 phases: residential, commercial, mixed use, both readapting the current buildings that are there, as well as potentially constructing new structures in the future. So that CUP was approved first, and then a site plan was also before the board and approved, and that's for phase 1 of the project. And phase 1 is just adapting one of the buildings at 150 Liberty Way, and they're proposing 250 residential units in that building, as well as first floor commercial. So this will be kind of a long-term project, and we'll certainly see more applications as they come. They also held a presentation and discussion on the Housing Committee's report. These were recommendations that the Housing Committee made over months of research and discussion, and those were also presented to Council at a previous meeting. At the second meeting, again, it was a big month for Planning Board this month. There was a site plan amendment for the project at the former McIntosh College. This project was approved a couple of years ago, and this amendment was just looking at one of the buildings, Building 2, increasing the residential units by 20 units. So the project was at 158 total units, and now it's at 178 total units.
And I'm going to stop you there. You've just mentioned almost 400 or just over 400 units. We truly haven't seen much of a change negatively in applications and desire. I'm assuming that means that from the planning department standpoint, you're still seeing demand for housing. You're still seeing interest in providing housing here. That's a good thing when you look at supply and demand needs.
Mm-hmm. And as Dover is experiencing, like the rest of the country, a housing supply crisis, it's especially important to see that continued demand to not only work with the planning department to build, but build attainably.
Yeah.
And we continue to look at that.
Great.
And there were also 2 applications related to a project on 141 6th Street. This was another residential development, so that was the theme of these projects. This was a private street that's being proposed, 20 duplex units. Again, the address is 141 6th Street. And finally, 3 applications related to the high school athletic complex reconstruction. This was 2 conditional use permits. One was for wetland buffer impacts. It was a small amount of wetland buffer impacts for the visitor grandstand, as well as there's a limit for impervious surface coverage within the secondary groundwater protection district, which the athletic complex falls in. And this proposal goes above that. So that CUP allows relief from that. And finally, the site plan amendment for the entire reconstruction of the athletic complex. And those 3 applications were approved.
That is sort of the final internal review step for a project that I think Brian had first brought up to the listener probably early summer, late spring. that the city council was having these conversations, forming the joint building committee, funding it, etc. So it's good now that that is entitled and ready to go.
And it was another opportunity for a lot of resident input. It also went to our Conservation Commission. August meeting, Conservation Commission reviewed and endorsed the wetland buffer impacts. Right. And then at the September meeting, after a good amount of discussion, reviewed and conditionally endorsed the impacts to the secondary groundwater.
I mentioned it was the last of the entitlements for that project. Councilor Cullen at the second council meeting mentioned that it was actually going out to bid now. So hopefully we'll see some movement over the late fall and winter on that project, and people can expect to see new athletic fields at the high school. Brian, anything on the school board radar or other committee or commission that non-land use related we should talk about?
The school board met, as they usually do, monthly on September 8th. There was an update on their cell phone ban, which was a statewide thing, not just a Dover thing. They also had a presentation on end-of-year student data, and they're already starting to talk about the 27 budget schedule. They're putting that in. That will start in November. Yep. And the city council will start their CIP process, their capital improvements program, in October. So budget season is
upon us.
Upon us, yes.
Tangentially related to both the land use side of things and the policy side of things, the Waterfront Committee met in September after taking the summer off, and they had a walkthrough, sort of workshop style, on the waterfront. Jamie Stevens, the project manager, gave a tour of the public improvements and walked people through Nebby Park and the developments there, as well as the stormwater infrastructure, the pavilion taking form. We're hoping to have a video narration of that in place in the next month so that the listener/viewer can check out what's coming when the park opens up in the spring of 2026. Erin, any other land use board conversations we should be having?
I think aside from Conservation Commission that I mentioned, the zoning board also met in September. It was just one item, a variance for lot coverage at 4 Bayview Road. But other than that, it was a pretty standard month.
Well, I appreciate you both checking in with us and look forward to talking with you in a month.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks for listening to the Dover Download this week. If you like what you heard, subscribe through your favorite podcast aggregator. And if you have something you want to hear a topic on, let us know. Finally, this is just one of the many ways we share information about the city of Dover. You can subscribe to the Dover Downloads email newsletter every week or other newsletters that we have by going to the City of Dover homepage, www.dover.nh.gov. Have a great week.